Hi there, welcome back to another episode of the BARROW Podcast. Here we are back again after our long sort of, journey into The Body Keeps the Score and developmental trauma and psychology. Those are the things that we've been sort of talking about or around for the last 10 weeks or so. But as promised, we're sort of moving more into, I guess, what you would call my story. So my experiences of upbringing and adulthood and eventually my quest to find my voice through writing and, you know, sort of intellectual life, I guess. And we'll get into all that. But yeah, not long to go to the end of the year, to the end of this insane project.
Insane life.
But I did want to start by sort of just setting something up. So to clarify, and this is, you know, it's been touched on already, but I just wanted to reestablish it, was that after your divorce, we, being you and I, we move in with your parents. And I've written a note here that says, beginning of the end.
Well, yeah, can I launch into that?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, what do you want to say exactly?
Well, as all things in life are in retrospect, what a decision.
Well, just to touch on it, to get it set up, because this will probably be relevant for a little while, is that, you know, you have a pretty terrible experience with your divorce, right? And it seems like a matter of, you know, it seems quite practical that, you know, your parents are nearby, there's room for us, and, you know, it's sort of like a transition period. So, sure, let's go move in with them. And it's meant to be temporary. I think. Well, so this is something, yeah.
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Well, look, you know, to jump around on the timeline here, like when I came back here, right? Because you move, or we move, in 92, 3, something like that, thereabouts, and I come back home and it's the same house in 2020. So it's like, it was not temporary as it turned out.
No.
But, you know, like looking at your diaries, this was something that we did, you know, that we've done recently, recently. You know, those earliest diary entries around the time that we move here, you're talking about it being temporary. You're talking about, wanting to sort of like move on and establish a life.
Yes.
Am I wrong in this? What am I?
No. Yeah. There were those sentiments expressed.
Yeah.
But it just obviously didn't turn out that way. And look, there's several ways of looking at it. Yes, it was a practical step to, you know, I was eventually going to have to go back to work. So, you know, you'd have grandparents on the spot there with you until you started school and all that sort of thing. Yeah, it had plenty of, you know, cons. No, plenty. As it turned out, there were plenty of cons.
That's what we call a Freudian slip.
Plenty of things going for it, but I don't think anyone envisaged how it would turn out.
Well, see,
to be fair.
Yeah, and having said that originally in this episode of like, well, it was meant to be temporary, wasn't it? Now I'm actually, I don't think we've ever really stuck on that point of like, what was it meant to be? Explicitly.
That's right, because it was immediate. It wasn't even, oh, well, we could provide better support. There was no leeway into it. It was all just
just done. Yeah. Which is how a lot of things operate in the family, and that's what we're going to get into.
That's right. It was all just done, and I think what you're referring to in my diary entries is that feeling of, oh, well, I'm leaving my home, which I quite loved. And I think I was raising that sort of question. What was this going to be about?
Well, why did you give up your own home?
Practically, there was a divorce settlement to be paid out. So, it made sense to financially just sell the house. Mm-hmm. On another level, there were a few difficulties with the house. There'd been an enormous, plumbing works done. So I'd lost a little bit of confidence in the house itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and as I said, your grandmother was going to be there because I was going to be returning to work.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's like, it's as I say, it was a really practical solution. But surely in the atmosphere, it was only going to be temporary, because how could it not be? Why would anyone think this would go on forever?
Yes, but then you're getting to the ideas about what people had about what was possible, about life. Mm-hmm. It was in that narrative of, oh, well, that marriage is over now, and we have got to bring this child up.
So, yeah.
So are there any other possibilities in that thinking? Will Deborah start again?
Yeah. So basically what ends up happening, and sort of to move the story along here, is that, like, mum gets divorced. There are a series of sort of practical considerations, which is the settlement, the state of the property you'd been living in, which had these ongoing difficulties. It seemed like that they would just be ongoing.
Yeah.
And your parents were offering this kind of situation where it's like, okay, sell that house, get the divorce kind of wrapped, move in with us. You've got to go back to work anyway, so we can help look after your son.
Yeah, yeah.
And that all sounds good on paper.
Absolutely.
So long as it's temporary. But what Mum's trying to describe, and what, the point of our experience with a family is, we came to this word a long time ago, was enmeshment. This is a family that is like, there are no boundaries. And so rather than come home and have this as a lily pad to sort of leap off of, you come home and basically get swallowed whole.
Absolutely.
And 30 years go by.
Yes.
And now that's what we're trying to reckon with or deal with.
That's right. And keep in mind that those thoughts of always being close were inherently in the people involved. Mm-hmm. There'd been
well, we don't need to get into all that. We're moving on.
Yep. Yeah.
Moving on is a bit of an issue.
Well,
it's kind of the theme of the...
Well, I think that's it. Moving on. Question mark.
So, from my perspective, and growing up in this environment, like, I eventually would come to think of our life with your parents as being very much like being part of a cult, but that the property itself I would always refer to as the compound, because in this scenario, as I say, it wasn't necessarily a lily pad to leap off of. It became this way of actually shutting things down.
It was a retreat.
It was a retreat, and it became, let's keep ourselves safe. Let's secure ourselves as a family unit from the wild world out there and all the people in it, people like my father, who cannot be trusted, who could hurt us, who could whatever. And it became my observations. Toby, what were some of your observations about your childhood? Here's one. There was a deep security paranoia that became evident almost the moment we moved in.
I was going to ask you, were you feeling that palpably as a little boy from the beginning? Because you're only a tiny boy. And keeping in mind that the person coming to pick you up for access was now really coming on to...
Well, we've already talked about access. We've talked about my father and all this sort of stuff. But let's just keep it from the perspective of my upbringing and the family being you and I and your parents, right?
So how are you feeling as a little boy? Are you loving being close to Pa so you can kick the football in the driveway? Or are you trying to work it out?
There's aspects that I'm enjoying, certainly. I mean, there was a lot of fun to be had because I was living with my grandparents. And grandparents are usually quite fun. But very gradually, I began to notice the first thing that really started to kind of set off like a little bell in my head was the security measures and the security paranoia. So to describe things without giving away, everything about where we live, or where we did live, at least, we have the highest fence on the street. Right?
Sure.
And then in addition to this very, very high fence, we also have this quite imposing security gate, right? And when that gate is shut, truly the rest of the world is blocked out. Your father...
Metaphorically as well as in reality.
Your father was constantly at work with improving the security on the property. So he was invested in this ongoing effort to install sensor lights absolutely everywhere. One on the back alley and in the driveway and this and that. He wanted the newest security alarm system connected to a security company with a PIN code on both of the houses. Usually when it comes to security, a person picks one or a couple of many options. Your father took every option. So the point that I'm making is that like the highest fence and the big gate, most people would go, well, security solved.
Yeah.
Or they might say, well, it'd be good to have a sensor light out the back, just in case you've got somebody trying to thieve. But he had every possible measure. So you had the big gate. So if the robber got through the big gate, then he was at the house. But then and I started like pulling this.
So
apart.
you're aware of it.
Well, I started pulling it apart because I asked questions. I would go, "What are you worried about?" Like, because there are things to be concerned about, sure, but what is it exactly? So if you say to me, well, I'm worried about some getting robbed, so I'm worried about the TV getting stolen out of the living room, I would say, well, having the biggest, highest gate fence on the street really solves that, because it's going to be very, very hard to take a giant telly under your arm and hop that impossible fence, right? So what started happening was I could never get a straight answer, and I started asking questions. I started saying, well, why do you want all these security measures? And it was like, oh, you got to keep safe, safe. And I would
So
say,
there's no proper answer.
and I would say, well, like what? Oh, well, in case something gets stolen. Well, nothing has been stolen ever. I think there was one attempt at pinching a mower that happened in the 80s, right? And I went, well, so the point is that once I started to notice, I started to ask questions, and there was never an answer to anything. Now, just before people think I'm crazy for, oh, well, they all seem like practical security measures. Your father went so far as to ensure that when the boundary fences either side of the property were erected, that they were erected in such a way that the fence framing, now you've got two sides of a fence, right? You've got the side of the fence that is just flat with the beam,
timber slats.
with the timber slats, and then you've got the other side which has got the framing. It's got the horizontal beams that really hold it, like the structural component of the fence, right? Now, most houses, because all the fences are generally built in the same direction, most houses have on one side of the property, they have the slats, and on the other side of the property, they have the structural component, the horizontal beams. So you can see one flat side and one sort of rear side, I guess, of the fence. Your father specifically wanted both fences, boundary fences, to be essentially facing inward, meaning that the structural horizontal beam components, the framework of the fence, would be inside. We would have access to them.
So the only people who could climb the fence
Was
were
us.
ourselves.
And he said this to me.
And you know this from conversation.
I know this because I ask questions. I said it's kind of odd because usually the fences are just one after the next, after the next. They all face the same way. And he said, see? Well, what I did was blah, 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 blah. Oh. And he said, and I said, but that means you've got, to me, the structural framework side of the fence is the rear side. It's the ugly side.
Yeah.
You want that nice flat side to look at. So I actually thought it was odd aesthetically. And I was like, oh, we've got the ugly side on both sides. And he said, no, not the ugly side. The strategy, safe side. Because I can go either side of the property and look over, but no one can look at us. Now.
And you know this from conversations. And may I say, I'm never having the conversations because I'm never fully present, and whatever is done is, well, it's not even accepted, it's not even thought about, it's just done. So you're already asking questions not only about fences, about the whole situation.
Yeah, because it's odd, right? And it is strange. And the point that I'm trying to make is that, like, you start to understand with him that this is not someone who is security conscious. This is someone who is paranoid. Yeah. Like, and that's the difference. Yes. The difference is, yeah, okay, sure, you might want a high front fence, or you might want to have a security pin pad. You might want some of these things. But when you have to have all of them and more and more and more, and you're so paranoid that you're even paying the builders extra money to have the insides of the fence faced into you so that you have an advantage over your neighbours.
It's incredible.
That's weird. That starts to get odd. And I began as a little boy to see these things. I started seeing a man who was not, as I say, security conscious. I started to see someone who was quite paranoid.
But you also started to see the lack of explanation.
There was never an answer. Yeah. You could never get a straight answer.
No.
Why do you want to do that thing? you do X because of Y, normally. He would just do X, and it would just be X, X, X. Anyway, that's the first of all. Second of all, when we moved into this situation, there were two big obstacles happened, and it probably explains why this situation ended up not being temporary and becoming really quite a nightmare, is that there was the paranoia aspect, which I began to realize. But the other aspect was that once we were settled in here, installed in this situation, the dynamics between people began to change. Which the number one part of that, and what I began to learn growing up, was that there was this drift or this shift where you increasingly stopped being my mother and reverted to sort of being your parents' daughter, and by extension becoming more my older sister.
Yeah, because again, laying the foundation for that is my just acceptance of whatever idea they had.
Well, it was not a shared household. It was your parents' household. Yeah. That's that's really the point.
Yeah,
is that they were in charge. It was their idea.
Yeah.
And soon everything here became their idea.
Yes.
And that, because we, the two of us, opened ourselves up to them, soon we were getting run by them.
Soon we were taken over.
Yeah.
And to say that I wasn't aware of that is taking that too far, because work for me became my refuge.
Yeah.
That's when I felt that I was truly myself. Not here.
Yeah.
So the impact of that on raising a child, I mean, words fail me, because you are observing their behaviour, then of course you're observing mine. And, from there, when did you start to think, well, I can't really get an answer out of her either? When did you start to think, will I raise this with Mum? Well, no, I won't, because she's obviously indifferent to it.
I think there was this shift, this gradual sort of decline, perhaps is a good word, I don't know. But like initially, as I say, and even probably for a period of years, like it was like an extended holiday. Like I'm living with my grandparents. This is great. Like my granddad plays with me. I can play footy and all that, kick the ball around and all that sort of stuff. And it was fun. It was quite fun. But gradually, as it just went on, more and more they were in charge, your parents, more and more it was like I was just losing you to them. Like, oh, she's kind of not my mother anymore. Like, she's just their daughter. And
yeah, and did that, are you then asking, well, who am I and where do I fit?
Like, who am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. Like, so this kind of decline or this kind of shift occurred, I mean, it was always there ultimately, but it also occurred incrementally out of this process of like the various machinations of living here, which was that increasingly your father both your parents, but your father in particular, started taking on more duties in relation to me. So, and it really did just start to get completely out of hand. Like, it went from... It's so hard to define this, but basically, like...
And it's hard to define the timelines, I know.
Yeah, but basically, like, I was sent off to a school that was a really elite private all-boys school. Now, we'll get to the school in a second, but that decision to send me to school, it's very hard to discern the line between it being about my schooling or about your desire for your son's schooling. So, and what I mean by that is, like, while it was a great opportunity to get a very good education for me, being sent there, particularly after the divorce and after our circumstances had changed, being sent there it went from being about my schooling to about appeasing an idea you had as their daughter for what I should have. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, because that is absolutely the truth. Because the situation had changed. I was now a single mum, bringing up a little boy.
Well, I'm going to challenge you on ever being a single mum, but...
Oh, sure.
You know,
Sure.
I mean, that's a fascinating point. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just...
No.
I'm just speaking generally, because what I meant, what I was leading to, there was no looking at the situation for what it was. Yes, I had that fanciful idea. I'd had a convent education. It was just in my mind that's what you were going to have. The point I was trying to make is that, okay, that was okay when we were a family unit, and we would have made plans to do that. But the situation had changed
Dramatically.
So you, as a little boy, are being here, there, and taken here, there, and everywhere. Access.
We'll get there. Yeah.
So are you really going to put him in a car and go across town to fulfill this, fantasy of yours? So there's no appreciation of, we're in a different situation now. What's best for this little boy? Which, of course, would have been to stay in your own patch,
neighbourhood,
with your local friends, and build up something that gave you more stability,
a life.
Yeah, and increased your capacity to cope with what you had to cope with.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Now, that was a very long-winded way of saying,
no.
The decisions. Yes, my parents held on to. Oh, that's what. I want.
Yeah. So to put it this way, the school was a long way from where I lived.
Yeah.
Right. It would be 45 minutes, sometimes a full hour in a car to get to this school. And by public transport, it was always an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. It could depending on things, right? So it was an enormous expenditure of travel time, right? That was, first of all. School fees were exorbitant, and so on and so forth. It's a difficult thing to pull off. In the best of circumstances, it would have been a difficult thing.
Yes.
Circumstances had changed. I had this really unstable situation now, but you wanted me to go to this school, and rather than, as you say, sort of just reassess it and look at it and say, well, look, it was a great idea, but things have changed. What's best for Toby as a developing boy, probably some just like, let's take it easy on him. Let's take it easy on him.
Yeah.
But there was no real concern or consideration for my needs as a child. What the concern and the consideration was for was our daughter wants something. And what she wants is for him to go to this school.
Yeah.
So we're going to make that happen. But it's about making it happen for you. It's not about
Absolutely.
me.
Yeah.
And that was what I started to really see and resent in my situation, was that the consideration, I've already stated it.
Yeah, because their thinking is...
But to make it happen, and this is where it goes with the machinations and the involvement, to make it happen, your father, the security paranoid leader of the pack, takes it upon himself as the martyr to, I will drive him to school every day of his life until my services are no longer required.
Yeah.
Now, this is an amazing sacrifice, and I should be so grateful, but I'm not, and I wasn't then, and I'm not now, because it was not an amazing sacrifice that did me a world of good. It was an insane choice that really became oppressive and burdensome and caused a lot more difficulties for me than had I just been allowed to go to the local high school.
And it was embedded not in care or love. It was embedded in
sacrifice.
My daughter's been wronged.
Yes. Oh, yes.
My daughter's been wronged.
The
life has been taken away from her.
Yes.
Her, me. I'm constantly talking about me.
Me, yeah.
So we must fulfill her every fancy. Fancy.
Yeah.
We must.
Yeah.
Because life is not going to change because of that person's
It becomes defiant.
Yes.
So what we're trying to describe, and it is difficult to get onto these things, because for every action there is this positive spin. Oh my God, they gave you the best education and all that sacrifice for that. You should be so grateful. Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
It is also true that a lot of these decisions were made and carried out not from graciousness, desire, that there was not a good thing behind them. What was backing them was this really dark energy about we've been wronged, and it became this collective we. That's the other thing, is that once we moved in with your parents, you had not just gotten a divorce, and I had not just lost, a father from the home. We collectively had been wronged by the entire world.
Yep.
The entire world was trying to shame us, and we would not be shamed. It became this absolute
mission,
defiance of the universe, and we weren't going to yield.
No.
We weren't going to buckle, or we weren't going to cave. We were going to
forge on.
The
mission must be accomplished.
And in that, as I've said, children end up in a symbolic realm on access.
Yeah.
I entered a symbolic realm within this house.
Yes.
I was the lance. I was the tip of the spear.
Yep.
I became, and my education, all the sacrifices made, it all became to show the world this perfect product. We were going to have this child with the best education, who was going to play the piano and the violin and be a great athlete and a champion academic, and he was going to be the best, the golden boy,
because
and he was going to be our proof that you hadn't damaged us.
That's exactly right.
And that is what this thing became. And
as it went on, it became that more and more.
Yes, and that's over time. It got more and more entangled in these kinds of ideologies.
Yeah. And all negative. Yeah.
All about defying the world.
Yeah.
All about proving a point.
Yeah.
And it got angrier and darker and meaner.
Yes.
The older I got.
Yes.
And it really did. Yeah. Until it practically combusted. It became so difficult to be here.
Yeah.
That we were all basically crying in our rooms.
That's right.
We could not live with each other.
That's right.
It had gotten so bad.
Right.
But to stick with childhood and to stick with the machinations of childhood, yes, there absolutely was a period when we first moved in where it was like an extended holiday. Yes. I get to live with my grandparents. My grandparents are fun. My grandmother cooks great food. Yeah. My granddad kicks the ball with me.
Yeah.
But then suddenly my granddad's driving me to school every day.
Yeah.
Then suddenly my grandmother has an opinion about me every day. Then suddenly, and it just snowballed. It got more and more entangled, more and more enmeshed, more and more.
That's right, because it went into other realms. There were the planned holidays, the planned events.
Well, we'll get to some of those in a minute.
It wasn't just day-to-day living, hi, Nama, hi, Pa, as you went out to live your life.
Don't say their names like that.
Oh, sorry.
Granddad, grandma.
Yeah, okay. It wasn't like that, going about your life. It became more and more. And, of course, my mother had such grandiose ideas for how a family should operate that seeped into all the other things. So
well, again, it was weird because it was like for them it became like a second family, a second run at family.
Yes.
And that's the thing is that, you know, everybody went back to their respective roles. You went back to daughter. They went back to mum and dad, and suddenly mum and dad are planning the family holiday. Well, hang on, I've got a mother and a father.
Yeah.
So now I'm going on a family holiday with my grandparents as mum and dad and you as my sister.
Yeah.
It got so muddled.
Yeah.
And it was really confusing. I mean, it was really disorientating because it's like I'm your grandparents. The thing about grandparents is that they are only meant to be kind of a sometimes thing.
And that's when they're special and fun and different and gee, it's great. I can
because your grandparents
I can tell them about what I did at school. But the thing is, everything was known. Everything's known here.
Your grandparents are from another world. They're from another time.
Yeah.
And that's really charismatic when you get it once a month or less or whatever. But living with them, you're living with people from another world. And it becomes a burden. You're going, well, no, hang on. People don't do that anymore.
And that's particularly so in our case. And I become lost with them, lost in their generation. Yeah. And their implanting of ideas. I'm not even trying to have a point of separation.
I think it's important to note that, like, from a generational perspective and from a developmental perspective, for me, I don't have... I lose a mother and father as the people of authority in my life.
Yes.
so I lose their generational sentiment as the position of authority in my life.
Yes.
And so I move back a generation.
Yeah.
The people running my life are silent generation. So I'm now, because I'm actually 2 generations beyond them, or 3, I am now the gap between me and them, and the confusion and the frustration, their inability to relate to me and what I'm going through, their total disconnect or disregard for my present circumstances.
And what you're rubbing up against with
That's what I'm saying.
other kids.
So I'm going to school and I'm odd at school.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
you know, my references and my taste and my sensibilities are totally out of alignment. And again, it starts off like an extended holiday, but once their influence is imposed year after year after year, I really become kind of stranger within my context.
Yes.
Because I don't have at home the same setup that most other people do.
You've got nothing in common.
Yeah. And so, like, I had all sorts of, like, I mean, because your mother, well, we can get to this. The point of today's episode I wanted to get to was really just that the problem that being sent to the school that I was sent to became for everybody. Because one thing was what I've just described, the generational divide. So the people running the household I live in are at a remove in time and place.
They're not relevant to real world. Yeah.
And so everything I'm going through and trying to encounter and trying to sort of get on the same wavelength as my peers so that I'm cool and normal is getting absolutely shot down at home.
Yeah.
So it's getting laughed at, it's getting ridiculed, it's getting... And there was never any... Particularly your mother would never let up on this. You know, there were just... I just wanted to wear the same clothes as the kids I went to school with. You know, like, we had a uniform, obviously, but I mean casually and socially.
Yeah.
But your mother had all these dress codes for me and wouldn't allow me to wear what I wanted. And it became this bizarre situation where instead of having like one parent or one set of parents to rebel against, I would have this like committee of people. And the other thing you've got to understand in all this is my isolation. Where I go to school is a million miles away. So I've got no friends nearby. I can't go to someone's house after school. I can't, you know, run off to a friend's house if I'm having a bad time at home. I'm completely stuck in this situation. And because your father is so security paranoid, he is driving me to the gates of school and picking me up every single day. I'm never allowed to have my own time, my own space. I had to beg, and I begged for years to just be allowed to take public transport to school. I did not want to be in that car with him.
Yep.
The other thing too is that I was always in the car. Like, I'm in the car an hour and a half each way per day. I'm in the car all weekend with my father going 3 hours out of the city to a horrible remote rural property.
Yep.
I'm in the car every night after school going out to piano practice in the sticks suburbs that you want to go to.
Yeah.
I am just always being driven. And that also, my feeling of being an object, of being taken here and there, I mean, it was just compounded. I never had my own time. And when you're in a car with someone else, like they're in charge, they're driving, they have the music on the radio that they want to listen to, they're having the conversation they want to have. Like, you're always kind of like the subordinate in those scenarios.
I want to ask about, so in this and how it plays out, you were having friends from that school come and go and
Occasionally, yeah.
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 So how did you feel about that?
I hated it. I hated having friends at this property because it was so odd. And like, I would only get questions and questions and questions. Why do your grandparents live here? And da 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 da. But it would also be...
They were contrived situations.
Well, it would be a nightmare because you wouldn't know. I would never know what my grandmother was going to do. Was she going to just sort of like butt in? Or, you know, she would get more excited about me having friends over than I would, and then she'd sort of take it over, and she'd be cooking something, or it would be her thing. And then there would be an evaluation. There would be an evaluation of the friends I had and what kind of people they were and what their family... I just hated it. I didn't want anyone to see my situation, and I didn't enjoy it. I always felt anxious in those situations when people came around. And the other thing too was like, you know, over time, because I lived so far away, according to everybody, from school and from where they lived in the nicer suburbs, you know, I would carry this guilt and this shame from people saying, "Oh, you live ages away. Oh, it took forever to get here." You know, you would constantly have people kind of like
making that kind of commentary.
Yeah, and I would think, well, I have to do it every day. You've had to do it once in 3 or 4 months to be my friend, and you have an issue with it. It's a problem. I was always a problem. I was always a burden to everybody. And that's how I felt. You know, I took that on very personally. I was like, well, I guess I won't have any friends. Like, what's the point? They're annoyed. And like, often they could not get a parent to give them a ride across town because, hey, guess what? Parents actually make those sorts of decisions to not do things for their kids. So I had this weird scenario where I had this grandfather that was sacrificing himself like some lunatic to drive me to school. But that was actually quite abnormal on a personal level. Like most adult males have something they would prefer to do than ferry their grandson around. And they would probably say, hey, look, daughter, I'll help you out for 6 months or even a year. But after that time, you've got to move on. I'm not driving. That's crazy. I'm not driving him to school like that.
Everything that happened just has this long life. It's never just in the moment or genuine in, I'll help you out now, but you've got to make some decisions and get on with your own life. So everything gets drawn out.
Yeah, it was just a very uncomfortable, strange...
So you would live with those questions, you know, like I'm remembering boys coming here, but I'm obviously not privy to what you had after those.
No, they would always empty me out. I always felt, you know, I felt worse off for them than I did for having them. And that's really how my interpersonal life has been. Like, whether you're talking friendships or romantic partners, is there's always been a funny feeling. Like, they don't actually make me feel good. They worry me. I feel like I'm a burden.
Because you always feel like you've got to explain yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to constantly explain what's happening.
As the situation evolved, and I today I wanted to stay just in childhood, but as the situation evolved, there were just more questions. I mean, I would just, and we'll talk about that when I get to adolescence, but look, let's just stay in childhood.
Yeah.
You and I moved here with your parents, and it was like a little holiday for a while, for a couple of years.
Yep.
But it gradually became quite a dark, paranoid, controlling, oppressive environment.
Yes.
And one of the core key issues inside this whole scenario was the school I was sent to.
That's right, yeah.
It was a problem for the fact that I had to be driven to and fro. And the other thing I need to say in all of this is I did not go to this school only in high school. I began at this school in grade 3,
Yeah.
right? So which is how old?
7.
7 years of age.
8.
Okay?
8.
7 or 8. Right? So
Yes. So that's coming on, you know, you've probably just enjoyed those few years.
Yep.
And then this is a mammoth change.
Well, the other thing I was going to a local primary school that was a few blocks from my house. And I'd walk up there, sometimes with my grandma, and I would have my day at school with my local mates and I'd come home. It was actually a happy little life. Now, I was pulled out of that primary school to be sent to a better school. And that is when things started getting dark.
Yes.
That school was a turning point for what this became and how nasty it became overall.
Because it wasn't only from the grandparents' point of view, it wasn't only the world we were shutting out, it wasn't only a mission to not be hampered by what your father had done. It became a whole issue about how they felt about that school and the people who went to it.
The kinds of people who go to a school like that. And basically what we're saying and what this whole situation became about over time, or what fueled it, was deep class insecurities, and status, intellectual, and other insecurities, and rural versus urban city insecurities and divides.
And again, the non-acknowledgement or the non-understanding that could possibly emerge.
Yeah.
Like, in my view, it's just, oh, you're going there. Not looking at all the other layers.
Yeah, there is
And as time went on, my mother made it very difficult for me to be relaxed with you there.
Yeah. So
because of that insecurity. Yeah. Yeah.
Already nearly at an hour.
Wow.
Just ranting about it. I don't think we made any points. That's right. And I think we're just going to leave it there for today. That's sort of like an opening onto this situation, and to say, yes, it's a nice little holiday for a little while, but then it became something else. And my getting sent away to this posh school was a very big, it's the clear marker of a change, a turn.
Absolutely.
And it's a turn for the worse. And we'll get into that, and we'll tease all that out in the episodes to come. But that's just like sort of a little setup for what happened. We moved home with your parents. We moved in with your parents, I should say. And we entered the compound. And it was a very tight ship.
The walls got higher.
Yeah, they did. Okay, that's it for today. Little sort of setup for my story, and why I may have possibly needed to develop my own voice so I can finally speak. Yeah. All right. Catch you soon. Bye.